My name is Alex Sadolf,
And I'm Brandon Cobb.
and this is the Land Development Accelerator.
Awesome. So, guys, today we've got a really special guest. This is Shane Carter. He's the president and CEO of Hampshire Capital. He's developed, renovated, done land development, has an apartment fund, commercial assets. He's been investing since 1996. He's got more than 315 million units under management that he owns. He's built over $120 million of real estate. I've read one of his books called Optimize Your Life. It was released in 2024. It was a fantastic book. I kind of read the book and I was like, man, I kind of feel like I'm following in this guy's footsteps. So we connected a while back when he was in Nashville. He's got a land development project that's pretty cool up there. We've been trying to do some stuff together, but we're going to pick his brain today. So please give me a warm welcome. Shane, welcome, man.
My pleasure, Brandon. Great to be here. Great to see you again. And great to spend some time with everybody on this call and see if we can add some value for you.
Yeah, dude, this is going to be a lot of fun. I know that I've interviewed you before. You were actually on our podcast, so I want to do this a little bit differently. You know, everybody on this call, they're learning land entitlement, development. Some people are doing their first deal. Some people are in the middle of a really big deal. So I was able to craft some questions kind of around that. You're very unique. So when we have people on these group calls, it's typically very focused. Like I've had a civil engineer on. We talked about everything civil engineering. We had one of the land sellers that sold us some of the land that we developed. We had them on the show. You're very unique in the sense that you do the development stuff, but you also do some lending, and you do apartments. You do quite a bit of different things. So I want to kind of get to that here in just a minute. It's unique from a perspective where it's like you don't just do one thing. You've been successful in many different things. I want to peel back some of those layers. But how did you get started in land development?
Good question. So I got started in land development really as a adjunct or sort of an accessory to being a builder. So I was a home builder for 25 years. I built everything from small starter homes all the way up through middle market homes to multi-million-dollar luxury homes, and then got into community developments and townhomes and condominium and mixed-use projects and so on and so forth. So that was my introduction to land, was just by being a builder and being a guy who built homes. And I guess technically I flipped a lot of houses too. So that was my beginning. Actually, just before that, I wholesaled. I wholesaled, then I flipped houses, and then I became a builder. So just to give everybody the full picture. And so that was my foray into land, was really from being a builder and then understanding, I'm buying this one lot and building on it. Okay, well, what if I bought 3? And what if I bought 10? And how do those 10 become 10 lots? And who did that and how? And just literally organically figured it out by talking to people. One of the first land entitlement deals I did was actually a flip, where I found a parcel of land and a house on it, and it just happened to have enough acreage to be able to subdivide. And I didn't know that. I had an engineer tell me that, who I just happened to be talking about on another project. He said, "Hey Shane, did you do that deal over there, such and such road with that's got 4 acres on it? Because that's a 2-acre minimum zone, so you can go ahead and subdivide another lot off of that." And I thought, well, that sounds amazing. Tell me more. And he explained to me the process as an engineer to go about doing that. And so that was the first entitlement deal I did, was subdividing a lot off of a flip that I was doing. So I rehabbed the house, and then I built a spec home on the lot, and gosh, I made so much money doing that. I thought, I got to figure out this land entitlement stuff a little bit more, and went on to do a small 6-unit subdivision, and then I just kind of grew my capacity.
you started with the smaller deals. You were flipping houses. That's kind of funny because that's sort of, I guess that's kind of how we get into it. We had some homes we were building. We subdivided these 5-acre tracts and we got the home for nothing, broke even, flipped it, but had these 2 5-acre tracts and built the homes on them. I guess that was kind of our entry into this as well. It's kind of funny. I just remembered that. Those are the Doy Road properties, Vigeef. I remember that. So, at what point, looking back, what were the big turning points that really allowed you to grow your wealth?
Well, that's a black hole discussion, but what really allowed me to grow my wealth was um, getting less transactional and placing the money that I was making in building homes and in the transactional businesses that I was in, taking that money and buying assets with them, and buying income producing assets, mostly multifamily assets. I started small. Right? I mean, the first deal I did was a 3-unit deal that I picked up for dirt cheap and had my construction company rehab it and then leased it out and then refinanced that, took my money out, did it again, etc. So I was really my own equity investor at the time. I didn't know how to raise money from other people. I didn't know how to use other people's money. I just thought, well, hey, if I've got an extra 50 grand here, how do I put that to work in an income producing asset and then do the Burr method before anybody called it that? This is back in the turn of the century, and sort of figured out, how to get my money back out and recycle it and do it again and again and again. And then just, as I got, next year instead of 50,000, I had 150,000, and then the year after that, I had 300,000. So I just kept leveling up the assets that I could deploy that into based on what the money that I had available.
So you were using land development as this tool that was creating a lot of capital for you, and then you were taking it and just reinvesting it into income producing properties, other real estate and other investments. So it just continued to compound at that point.
You got it. Exactly right. Yeah.
So how do you currently find your land deals? Because you're not in just one spot. You cover the whole Southeast. How does that work?
Yeah. So we have a different decentralized business model, and the challenge is that development's hyper local, right? So right now I'm sitting up in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, and we've got staff in Houston, in Dallas, in Kentucky, in Florida, in North Carolina, and in Maryland, sort of Delaware, New Jersey, Philly market. And so we're kind of covering all these disparate markets. We're actually in a discussion with some folks out in California for a JV to work with them as well in our business model. And so to answer your first question, how do we get deals? Deals get brought to us. The builders actually bring us a lot of deals, believe it or not. They'll come to us and say, hey, guys, we've got a land that we have tied up and we've gone through some entitlements and we're about 90 days out or we're 6 months out away from closing on this. Let's run some numbers and let's see if we can assign this deal to you so that you can develop it for us, because they want to be land light, they want it off their balance sheets. That's
The national home builders of the world. Is that right?
DR Horton, DR, Cobb, KB Home, anyway, all the top 20 national home builders. We have the closest relationships, though, however, with the ones I just listed. And so that's one avenue. The second avenue is with folks who are just entitlement specialists. There's a lot of companies and a lot of individuals that just focus on being entitlement folks and not really ever planning to develop the land at all. Just get that value proposition from taking it from raw land, getting an entitlement approved, getting it shovel ready, getting it platted, and then selling it off to a builder or a developer like ourselves to actually physically close the land and develop. So we have a lot of deal flow that comes from groups like that and relationships like that. Then, of course, there's brokers who broker all of the above and then some. And they, of course, bring us lots of deals as well. And then there's other developers that get overwhelmed with what they have, or they have a deal go south and they need to liquidate something because they just have too much on their plates, and they need to create liquidity somehow in their environment. We've bought 2 deals in the last 6 months that are exactly that profile. So that's currently how we're finding all of our deals.
It sounds like you built a reputation where deals come to you because you're the capital source for those deals, and they know, hey, you're the buyer and or you're the capital partner on it,
Correct.
which makes you unique because it's not like you're just doing all your own deals, or you're just lending on deals. You're also doing like like private equity stuff too, where you do some partnership stuff. So let's break some of those down on and correct me if I'm wrong here, you do just strictly lending on like land development projects as well, is that right?
No.
Okay, so no strict just lending, but you're doing the private equity side where you'll partner with people on it. Break that down. Can you explain first what you're looking for if you're going to do a land development deal, we're going to develop the lots and sell to a national home builder? Like, what goes into a successful partnership if somebody were to bring you that land? Because you kind of have, there's a dichotomy where you can either just buy it from them, get them out of the deal completely, or partner with them on it.
Yeah. Yeah. So we partner well. We like to say that we're JV friendly. We partner well because we have, first of all, an abundance mindset, and we're a very purpose driven company. So we believe that that we've been giving a lot of opportunities here to do good in society, and we're fundamentally meeting housing needs, and we thrive as a company by doing well by everyone around us and conducting ourselves accordingly. So we love to partner with people because that was my big breakthrough into what I would call large scale development, where we're now doing master plan developments where there's some mixed use, there's some commercial, there's a multifamily pod, and then there's 350 single family units in addition to that, and we'll do that whole master plan and then JV or part out some of it and keep the residential and develop it for a DR Horton or whomever. So I kind of came up in the industry that way, and so I like partnering with others who are on the come up as well. Because once you get up a rung on the ladder or two, your job is to turn around and lift the next folks up. And so that's just our mindset. What are we looking for? Fundamentally sound deals, and what I mean by that is, some deals right now, there's just a challenging basis in the land, and I get it because sellers, the folks who own the land, they're hard and fast, and they say, nope, this is my number, and you're going to close on this date, and that's that. And so as entitlement folks, it's like, geez, if you want the deal, you kind of have to play ball with the seller, right? But what we're looking for is, at the end of the day, we solve for the end in mind. We solve for what am I going to actually develop this for, and that business model, we solve for a 25% unlevered margin. So quick math on that is, if you take all your hard costs, all your soft costs, your land cost, your fully entitled development cost, your actual development costs, and then any cost of the soft cost having to do with that, but not the financing cost, not the interest carry, not the fees, none of that. There needs to be a 25% unlevered margin delta between what we're all in at and what the builder is buying the finished lots for. We basically back down from there into what's the right price for us to pay for fully entitled dirt, and then back down from there. Okay, what's that risk reward profile in that slug? To what can we pay for the raw one? And we help people understand how that works.
And so, just as an example, if you're selling a development for, let's say all your costs minus the financing costs are $10 million, you want to sell it for $12,500,000, right?
That's right.
25 points on the deal. Yeah, makes a lot of sense. How do you evaluate, like, what's your framework for entitlement risk versus reward? Like, how are you weighing the risks of entitlement? Because a lot of times, people might bring you something where, hey, we got the city approval, right? We got a builder that wants to give us a contract, but it's not entitled, it's not done. What do you do? How do you handle deals like that?
Yeah, so how we handle deals like that is we like to step in and remove what I like to call when, not if matters. So what I mean by that is, zoning has to be a given. If it has to be rezoned and the density that we're looking to achieve is not a by right approval, that's a big if. It's not when, that's a big if, and that's a risk. That's a big risk, because now you've got to go down a road to get that rezoned, and that is an entitlement risk. So we like that to be cleared off. The next big risks are availability of utilities. So will serve letters for water and sewer. If you don't have that, you don't really have the project. You don't have a project I can do. So getting those things, those are ifs. If I can get a will serve letter, then I can proceed with the development. If I can get a will serve letter for water and sewer, electricity is usually not a problem, but it's usually that water and sewer, right? And then if there's wetlands and wetland crossings and wetland permits that need to be gone through, and if there's state roads and there's DOT access and things like that, again, I've had projects where DOT denies the access. Nope, don't like the site distance, don't like the turning radius. It doesn't matter what y'all are going to do for turning lanes and offsite improvements, just not going to approve that site to come in. You got to come in another way. Well, that can kill a project. So that's a big if, and we want to get rid of all those ifs. Now you're down to the whens. When I spend the money and get this fully engineered and have this tennis match between our engineer and the city's engineer go through the process, then we'll get a shovel-ready project. When I spend that time and when I spend that money. So remove all the ifs and just focus on this only has whens left. That's what we like.
So, yeah, you're not closing on anything obviously until you have all the approvals, but you're in your due diligence period. You're not spending a ton of money designing it or CDs. You're going to the city. Okay, what's my sewer and water capacity? What's water availability? Hey, what are you guys going to approve here? And you're getting it to that preliminary plat approval stage. Then it's a win. It's not an if, right? You've got a feasible project, and now you're ready to move forward and spend the money to design it. How do you estimate your development costs? Because you're in so many different markets, right? We preach going and sitting down with your local national home builders, building your buyers list, getting them to explain what their development costs are, kind of what they're seeing across the board, and use that in the underwriting. How are you doing that, being spread so far apart? Because the development cost here versus in New England or California can vary widely.
They are completely widely. We have development projects currently on our books that range as low as $25,000 a lot and as high as $100,000 a lot. That's a huge variation in development costs for a site. And that, frankly, makes and breaks a project. All projects live and die by your site development costs. So how we manage that is upfront. First of all, I've been doing this a long time, but most importantly, the guy who runs that in our company, our executive vice president of construction development, has been doing it longer than me. And he's put 20,000 lots in the ground. And he's done over $3 billion of development, from high rises to marinas to country clubs to multifamily assets. And this guy's been there, done that. Dallas-based guy, this big old Texan that just knows everything about development and construction. So whether we're in Nashville or Raleigh, Durham, or Florida, or New Jersey, or anywhere, he's got a guy he can call, and we find out that information pretty quickly. Not only that, but obviously been doing this a long time. We track and have not only OPCs but actual operating data of what things cost in various markets, and so we have this massive database that we feed into our proprietary AI software that spits out exactly what the right range should be for a given project. We map that to the topos, the wetland crossings, and sort of the uniqueness of any individual project, and know whether we're on the low end or the high end or the middle of that range. And of course, so many unknowns from the beginning, we tend to be conservative and go to the high end of the range just to make sure the deal's fundamentally sound. And then if we pick up some money on the development cost side, then that's just found money, and that's great. But we don't want to get hurt, right? We don't want to get hurt. We don't want anyone else to get hurt, so we stay conservative.
Yeah, because I get a lot of people that reach out to me asking, how do you know what development costs are? And I ask people, they want to do this, and I say, well, what's holding you back? They're like, I don't know how to estimate development costs. I don't understand that. And it's kind of funny. Like, I remember when y'all called us, y'all were looking at this Gallatin deal, and y'all were trying to get a sense of what the local market development costs are. And I think you and Eddie reached out and were like, yeah, and we gave you our linear per foot road costs on a couple projects we did. It's as easy as just calling and asking sometimes. right? Figure out networking. There's a little bit of work to network and, figure out who's who and, who can, give you that information. But that's all there is to it. Is it rocket science? Am I missing anything there?
No, you're 100% right. Yeah, absolutely, Brandon. It's just about getting in with the right folks, and we call site companies. And again, my director of construction has just been doing this for so long now that he's got a great Rolodex of folks that he can just call up and get real time information on. Because obviously, 2025 pricing is different than 2019 pricing, right? So he could have done a project somewhere in 2017, but that data is no longer viable. We've got to update that data set with today's numbers.
So what are you looking for in, because deals come to you and, I'm sure we've got some people on the call that, they've got some deals. What are you looking for in a private partnership where you guys are the capital, kind of helping oversee the deal? How does a partnership structure break down? If somebody's bringing the deal and can take it through the entitlement process, get all that done, but maybe they're needing some funding for the entitlement costs or something like that, how would that work with your company?
Yeah, how that works with us is we have an intake process through our acquisitions team. That deal comes in. We then, again, analyze the end in mind. We take the location. We understand, again, we have a very robust database of finished lot values, average sale price of homes. We do a pretty quick analysis of that. It only takes us maybe 2-3 days per deal to get a very fulsome and accurate analysis of a specific market or a specific location relative to who's building there, what's the comp set, what are the home prices selling for. We know our generalized metrics are anywhere between 20 to 35% of that is going to be your finished lot price. We usually land around 25%. Different markets, again, you can push that, but that's the builders will never say that. The builders will tell you they're at 20% max, and so you just got to know how to arm wrestle with these folks. But anyway, we figure that out, and then again we're backing down into, okay, if that's the finished lot price, then we're going to deduct our development costs, which again we know from marketplace what our generalized development costs are going to be. But the analysts on our act team are also looking at the specific project. Gosh, guys, we got 60 foot of topo here on this particular site. That's going to be a big cut fill. Is there a cut fill analysis on this thing yet? Where are there are a tremendous amount of offsites? Looks like we're pulling sewer in here an eighth of a mile. All right, well there you go. Now we're chunking down that site development cost budget to get to what can we pay for fully entitled dirt, and then to, all right, where are we in the process? What's left to achieve? And is there a nice delta there for that risk reward profile to continue spending money to get it from where it is to a fully shovel ready project that we would buy at X price? We literally do all of that analysis in a couple of days.
So you break it down, and then how would you structure that? How do you decide if you're going to partner with them on it versus just have them assign it over to you once it's entitled and ready to go? And if you do partner with somebody, what are the big skill sets that each party needs to bring to the table, and how do you decide on a compensation structure around those? In other words, if you're partnering, what are the big things everyone's bringing to the table? Like, you're obviously bringing capital, you're obviously bringing, expertise too. So, like, what are some of those things that you need to justify, hey, I want to make this a partnership versus, I don't really need this person, just give me the deal?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'll start with the fact that we don't really deploy capital unless we are controlling the development. Meaning we have to control the actual development, our site supers, our payroll, our construction management, our staff running the development. We don't hire general contractors. We are the general contractor. We hire the site guys, we hire the paving contractors, concrete, landscapers, et cetera, et cetera. We hire all those individual subs, and we manage this through a centralized construction management process. So I'm going to start with but that's a caveat that we only really invest in those deals. Now, to your other point, what makes a good partner? Well, if it's fully shovel ready, then there's really no more value to add, right? You've done the job, or somebody's done the job of getting it from raw dirt to fully entitled. Then to me, it's more like, we can JV, and if it's a fat deal, or if there's a lot of juice in it, we can pay up front, pay as we go, pay at the end when we get paid. We can structure deals that work for everyone. What I'm asking, and what I'm kind of trying to gauge from whomever is bringing me the deal, Brandon, is where are they at? What do they need? What's important to them? And is this a one-time deal, or is this a partnership where we're going to do? We all want to do 5 more of these over the next 12 to 18 months, right? Those are whole different conversations. If this is a one-shot deal, I'm gonna discuss it differently than somebody who says, "Boy, Shane, I really would love to partner with you, and I'd love to have a pipeline of 5 or 6 of these that we do with you over the next few years." Now that discussion is going to go different. And then back to the initial part of the question is, if it's partially entitled and there's some room left to go, what I'm looking for is somebody who understands how to bring it through the entitlement process. Because as somebody who's been doing entitlements for 25 plus years, it's very political. You have to extremely thick skin. You have to be very patient and calm, and you just have to be able to stick it out when things get rough. And so I'm kind of, again, gauging who is this person, and are they going to be able to fulfill that? Are they going to be able to deliver on those aspects? And are they the right representative at the local level to get these things ushered through and approved? Can you call, the folks on the board and have that collaborative discussion with them, and do that politicking that sometimes is needed to be done to get a project approved where everybody feels good? You're making the counterparty, meaning the approval board, feel like this is a win for them and for their community. That's the essence of that business.
That's the big value add, boots on the ground that understands the local politics, because and that's one thing we talk about is going and meeting with the decision makers before you have something, building a relationship, right? Asking, hey, what do you need in the community? What products do you want? In Wilson County, I'm not pitching any townhome products. They don't want townhomes, right? Don't bring them concept plan and get some feedback on it with townhomes. They're gonna look at you like you had 10 heads. Like, we don't want that. That goes so far. I love what you just said there. What advice would you have for people that want to attract somebody like you into their deal? And you kind of gave a lot of it right there, which is, I need somebody boots on ground that can, do the entitlement. But let's say that they can do the entitlement. That's great. But, they want to partner on a deal. Is there any other skill set that you're looking for to, like, keep them in the deal? Or is that it? Just the entitlement portion? Like, you've got everything else. You don't need help with anything.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. I think, to answer the question clearly, I'm looking for generally folks who are malleable, who have an open mindset, abundance mindset, not rigid thinking. I've been doing this a long time, and I open every conversation with everybody in this business with, what am I about to learn from them, and how can I improve myself with what I'm about to learn from this counterparty. And I never ever think that I know it all about anything, because that's been proven to me so many darn times that I just don't. So I'm constantly learning as well, and I like to be around other people who want to be in a constant learning mindset. So I look for that, and then the entitlement part is important, but let's say we're going into like what we called you guys, right? There's also local contacts, right? So who are the right site contractors that we should know? Who are the great landscaping companies? Because these are all things that are in every single project. You've got site work, utility, landscaping, concrete, asphalt paving, trucking, all these different aspects of every job. And who are the right contacts to have in that market that are going to deliver a quality product at a reasonable price, and not have a bunch of inconsistency in the work. So there's more value to add there. But as far as the kind of construction and management process, I mean, unless they're actual site supers and project managers and have actually done civil construction management, we prefer to just hire somebody local that we can put on our staff for that.
They can do that. And so really, if somebody was out there and had had a good land project, but it wasn't entitled. They'd done some preliminary work, gotten some verbals from the city, said, yeah, we're on board with this, had a builder with some pretty good margin on it. Would y'all be comfortable, partnering on that deal and like fronting those entitlement costs to get it to the approval stage? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, I think we would be open to that. It's really going to depend on the margins, right? Because that capital deployment, has to have a risk reward profile to it. That every deal is different. We don't have a hard and fast rule like, hey, this amount of money for this amount of time equals this return. We're looking at the whole picture, and we're looking at the whole picture from everyone's perspective. Meaning, Brandon, you bring me a deal and it's partially entitled and it needs another $500,000 to get completed with CDs and engineering and going through a process. That could be fine. What we're going to look at though is like I've described, from the end all the way to the beginning, and then is there an appropriate margin there for everybody, right? Like we're going to discuss, what do you need, Brandon? What's going to make you feel good about doing this project with you doing the legwork, us putting up all the money, us guaranteeing that we're the buyer at the end of this thing at X price, and we're forming a joint venture to do a kind of company A to company B. Terra Nova Land Development buy it, but you and I are going to partner together in this company A joint venture that's going to get it entitled and approved. And what does that look like? And that's the structure that we really truly analyze on a case by case basis.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. What tools are you guys using in your business? How are you using AI to help your land development business? One of the things that, we put out was a training on, building your own custom GPT complete with the bylaws and the overlays because it is so specific, right? It's completely different in Tennessee than California and New England. But even within Tennessee, how Murfreesboro does something is a little bit different than how Dixon does something. And so each of those municipalities has their own overlays, has their own bylaws, Davidson County. And so we upload all those to the custom GPT. So you got your Murfreesboro, Rutherford County GPT. And that has been a complete game changer for us. When we started doing that, 6 months, a year ago, whatever it was, when ChatGPT had the ability to do that, that was huge for us. Are you guys doing something similar? And how are y'all using AI to be able to navigate some of the issues we face?
Yeah, absolutely. We, this is not an overstatement. We quite literally use AI for everything. We do everything in AI, and everything that we do goes into our own proprietary GPT that we've created. That yes does sit within another macro LLM model, but we feed everything into this model, and it's ours. And we've gotten it to the point where it can do our own underwriting for us. We've uploaded our pro formas and said, here are the 10 or 12 or 15 inputs that are going to be changed on every single deal. Learn our model, and when we're going to give you these inputs on every model. So now we don't have a human actually physically underwriting anymore. We have our AI assistants doing that. Great example about on the entitlement side, how you can upload bylaws, zoning regulations, etc., and have your AI tool learn what is allowed and what isn't allowed. And so now you can ask it questions. Hey, in Murfreesboro, we just got this feedback from the city planner that we should do X, Y, Z instead of A, B, C. Can you point to that in their zoning regs and tell me whether or not that jives with what is written in their zoning regs? 2 seconds later, you got that answer, right? And that's so powerful. That's a game changer. We are also implementing it because we don't really focus on entitlements. We like to help other people do that, and we'll empower and we'll control deals by leveraging our capital and allocations to that. But we don't physically do that necessarily anymore. We're using AI for everything else though that we do, from like I said, underwriting, acquisitions, land development budgeting and contracting, and again, feeding it all of this information constantly that we're getting from OPCs, from bids, from contractors, etc., so that we now have a line item detail. If I ask my GPT right now, what's the cost per linear foot for 8-inch ductile iron in Murfreesboro, Tennessee? Boom, there's your answer. Immediately, that answer's there. So now it's just a matter of, again, getting the quantities and takeoffs from the engineer, and that whole thing's underwritten, and now we're good to go. And we'll still send it out to bid, right? But when the bids come back, and I'm seeing this guy's telling me that he's at 450 a linear foot, but my data and software is telling me no, you should be at about 385 a linear foot. That's now an educated discussion that I get to have with that site contract.
Yeah, very interesting on the underwriting portion. So you're feeding it all of this data from your past developments, and it's coming up with averages for some of the stuff, like you just mentioned, the ductile. And yeah, I mean, because you're able to shave off little bits and pieces there. It's very difficult for a human to, because you're in so many different markets. That human, it's going to take a lot of time for them to go and research that market. Okay, well, let me go pull up this. Okay, where's the pro forma for that project we did 2 years ago there? Okay, where's this item? The time savings is enormous for something like that. And they're building out the pro forma, it's underwriting it, and then you just have a human being just checking it. I'm assuming that's the time consuming part.
Yeah, that's exactly right. My job as a CEO, Brandon, is to always be thinking about vision and leadership, and coaching my team and guiding everyone. I use AI for that too. There's nothing in our business that we don't use AI for, because we've committed to it. We've committed to the platform. This tool now truly knows Terra Nova land development and knows it better than any of us. So when I see something in a news report that says, X, over inventory in this market in Florida is going in this direction, or Pulte did this and Lennar did that, I feed it all that and I say, what should Terra Nova do in this market? As a visionary, as a thought process. And it spits out a ton of examples of, based on the information you just fed me about what we're seeing in real time in that market, here's where we think Terra Nova would be best positioned, because we've continued to feed it for months and months and months and months now, exactly who we are, what we do, and it has all of the data around exactly what our business model is. It's helping us with.
So, okay, so you're feeding it some market dynamics, which is, hey, Pulte's doing this in this market, Lennar's doing this, based on what you know about Terra Nova. Tell us what we should do. Give us a little bit more bite and context around, what we should do. Are you talking about maybe the size of the lots for the specific product, where absorption rates are best? Like, what does the answer to that look like exactly?
Yeah, so this is more of a macro tool. So we're looking at different land positions. We've got private equity firms that are, investing in us, and programmatic relationships where we have to manage exposure. We have to manage exposure to markets. We have to manage exposure to builders. And we have to manage exposure to product types. And so we have that all detailed out in terms of exactly how we are managing all those different risk profiles. And so the case example I just used, Brandon, was about a risk profile for a certain product. There's a product type in a market, and there's a news report on it that is suffering and not doing well, right? So what they're not saying is, okay, well, what is doing well? And there's data on that, and we have access to that data. We can pull it from John Burns, from Zonda, from a number of different sources of data, and some of which is publicly available. And we're then feeding all of that in to our proprietary GPT and saying, based on all of this information, what do you think we should have for exposure in this market? What types of products should we have exposure to? And what should we be focused on for development projects? Because tomorrow, Brandon might call me and say, hey, Shane, I've got a fantastic project that is all 40-foot lots in this market. And we might be able to spit out an answer real quick and say, that's amazing, because 50 and 60-foot lots are tanking. This is a great project. We're super interested. Or the inverse, hey Shane, I've got a project that's all 60-foot lots in this market at a X price, and we can say immediately, gosh, Brandon, I'm so sorry. We can't have exposure in that particular lot class right now.
Mm-hmm. No, it makes a lot of sense. One more question. I want to open it up for everyone else to ask some questions. Where do you see land development going over the next 5 years?
I've already asked my AI tool that. Well,
what did it say?
I can tell you where it's going in general, and then I can tell you where we're trying to position ourselves, just some sort of insider, is that we're going deep, not wide, with several builders, 3 to be exact, and we're really deepening those relationships across multiple regions. But to step back and answer your broader question, where it's going over the next few years is, if you sort of read the tea leaves and where we are right now, we have, home building and land development, there's some latency to it, meaning land development is kind of in front of, but then also behind the development of the housing, right? And so what we're seeing right now is there was a lot of speculative inventory built because of what happened in 2022. And so there's this lag that happens. And so now there's this cooling period that's happening now. The softening in the market in 2025 is leading to diminished land buying, obviously diminished building, diminished margins for the builders. But what's happening behind the scenes that firms like us know, and you probably know in your specific markets, is that builders still have a massive appetite, and they are not stopping their forward positions. Because everything that I'm putting in the ground, if I close on a deal today, I'm not delivering lots until probably this time next year in 26, which means that housing doesn't actually get on the market until probably early 27, right? So everyone is visioning to what does that look like? Here's what builders are doing right now, is they're saying, now's a great time to lock in a great land basis, because the market's soft, right? So we can get a great land basis and then deliver a product out here in 27 that's going to be fantastic, and we can go from these, kind of lower end margins to kind of pushing some of those, 22, 23 margins we were able to achieve. And so we're working with them where we have deals that pencil based on numbers today, but we lock them into a business plan. What's your business plan? What are the houses you're selling? I mean, exactly, in 2027. I want to see the floor plans, elevations, and I want to know what your business plan is to sell them for a finished home sale value, because that's what our debt and equity requires. But we need to see this full cycle. We're analyzing that total risk. Now, great, you just told me you're going to sell that house for $450, and I'm locking you in at this finished lot price of X. Great. What happens if you start selling homes at $475? I'm getting a piece of that, because I sold you a lot based on a premise for $450. Now you're selling homes for more. I should get a piece of that.
Oh, interesting. Hang on one sec. I got another question now. So you're okay. I'm learning something now. So you're building in your contracts where if they get some upward momentum on the home sale price, then you get a piece of that on the lot acquisition, right? Really? Because we do escalators where it's 3-5% per year. But I kind of like this idea of the sell price of the home, especially given kind of where we're at, where the ISM's ticking up, the business cycle's headed in a positive direction, rates are dropping, liquidity's coming. It seems like all these signals are pointing towards a very good 2026. How do you structure those deals where you get a piece of the upside there if the home sells for more?
Yeah, it's called a true up. It's just contract language. We were able.
You said a true up.
Yep, it's called a true up. Correct.
True up. Okay.
True up, and again, it's based on locking everyone in to a business plan, right? We all have an agreement here, and I'm carrying a ton of risk because I've got the land on my books, and I did all the development, and now I'm giving you NVR 15 lots a quarter or whatever you said you needed, but I'm holding all this inventory, and so that 3% or 4% or whatever the escalator is, that's just to keep up with inflation. That's separate from your business plan. Your business plan is to sell $500,000 homes. Okay, that's fine. But if you start pushing those to 550, and we give them there's a leeway, like from 500 to 525, you keep it all. Once you crest 525 and you're heading to 550 now, there needs to be a true up because you just leveraged me to get a better land basis to sell a more expensive home. And given the market dynamics we have now, we're just wise to that and how builders are kind of beating everybody up. Mm-hmm. So that's a little nugget on how to deliver that with builders. There's some contract language that we borrowed from Angelo Gordon and TPG, which is a, you know, large land bank fund that we work with.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to ask Todd's question because I think he had to hop off. I know he put a question here in the school community. He said, when in the land development process does a PE firm typically look to invest capital? Entitlement, when construction starts, et cetera. So you kind of already answered that. It could be at the initial stages, during the entitlement process. You sort of said that you guys were fine with that.
Well,
Um,
I want to qualify the term private equity though, because most we I guess we're technically private equity, but we're developers too, right? So we're just a private equity real estate firm, but we're really developers. Most private equity, meaning you're just capital allocators, aggregators, and allocators, they will absolutely not invest in entitlements. They will only, and only a few of them will invest actually in the development. Most of them just want to be land banking facilities and just do a financial transaction with their ultimate counterparty, which is a publicly traded, top 20 national home builder. So I just want to qualify that response a little bit. We are unique in that because we're developers and because we understand the full life cycle, we're comfortable taking that risk on certain projects, but most private equity firms would likely not.
Yeah, and next week we've got a private equity firm coming on that just wants to invest money in the deal. They want operators to do it, and they do entitlements and the development portion. So they're unique. It was a little arm that they spun up, and they were looking for it. So we'll kind of talk about that. All right, what questions do you guys have for Shane?
I've got a question. Shane, thank you for taking the time and coming on. I really appreciate it. I think the guys. I had some notes here, and you said the true up because that conversation came up with Kurt Harakas in Nashville. He was like, "Hey man, you got to make sure you have the true ups in there." When you do your true ups, how does that? Um, what does that look like? What is the percentage that you're looking at for a true up? Is that still 20%? Is that
Yeah, because we've got a deal. We literally are contracting on a deal right now for finished lots that we did.
Yeah.
And we're not too late to the game to start to put a true up in here and bring that up. So I want to know what that is.
Yeah, no. Look, it's like anything. The deeper I get in these relationships with DR Horton and DR and these groups that we're working with, man, it's just straight up sales and business negotiation. It's really what it is at the end of the day. And so, Alex, to answer your question, it really depends. We come at them with 50%. That's what we say. Look, anything over, we'll give you the 525. Anything that's 550 and up, we get half of that. You keep the other half, and I think that's fair because we're taking a ton of risk. Do we come off of that? Maybe, but we certainly, we say, look, I think that's fair. You guys get to keep half of that upside, right?
right?
It's just
How are you determining the price of the home, though? Like how's the home price determined in your negotiations?
Well, it's not a negotiation. We make them as a component of us agreeing for a lot purchase agreement with the builder. One of our caveats is you have to give us our business plan because our credit facilities require us to understand the full development cycle. So our risk is the builder. So NVR, you got to show me what are you going to build here, and we're going to gauge that against your competitive set. So what are the other communities that are being built here? Who else is building $600,000 homes? If NVR shows me that we're going to be building $600,000 homes, but everything in that 1 to 3 mile radius is $450,000 homes, I got a problem with that. That's a big risk. I don't think I like that. If it's the inverse and everybody's selling homes at 600,000 and DR's coming in and selling at 450, well, that sounds like a grand slam to me. Those homes are going to sell like hotcakes. But I don't want to be in a risk profile where everybody else is selling at 450, and now I got a builder telling me they're going to sell at 600. Boy, that seems risky. That feels like your business plan might fail, and you're going to walk away from this development. And now I own finished lots, which I am not in the business of doing.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Interesting. So you, in your contract, you stipulate that they need to release the business plan to you.
We don't do a contract until we have the business plan, and we vetted the business plan in our due diligence.
I see.
So products, ASP, really to take down you probably look at their cure periods, making sure that their cure periods are not like they can't just drag you along. I know that NVR's cure periods are like pretty long and their takedowns crazy.
Yeah, yeah, no, like I said, guys, we get floor plans, elevations, ASPs, and give me your comp set analysis. Why do you believe that this product is gonna work in this location based on the competitive set?
Wow. Are you pushing? Wow. Are you pushing 30%? I mean, like, are you asking for 30% ASP on lots right now, or does it feel like that's where it's going?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely, Alex. We are pushing for that and more. Some of these, tighter markets, believe it or not, in California, you can push that to 40.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So average sales price times 30%. That is your finished lot price. But that then the expectation on finished lot probably increases, right, with landscaping and the on-site and sidewalks and like all the amenities. That needs to be pretty tight. Like,
Yeah, and it usually does include all of that, all of the above. Yeah.
okay.
That's huge for underwriting, guys. When y'all are hearing it, like this is a guy doing deals nationally, where the market's headed. If you've looked at our stuff, we say 25%. So that's there's I'm hearing wiggle room.
Well,
Yeah, great.
it's really dependent on the market and the saturation of the deals, and you really have to truly understand the data set in the market.
Yeah. No,
Sure.
great question.
And
Linda, I saw that you unmuted. Did you have a question?
Yeah. In terms of joint venturing, if we are joint venturing with the seller and splitting the profits, they're bringing the land, we're doing the rest, to do the entitlement, and maybe more, would you get involved in that in terms of maybe taking it to, continuing the development piece? If we bring you something that's entitled, would you deal with that with another party in the mix? And if so, what absolute things would you expect in my contract with them, or what red flags would you be looking for? If assuming you did that, how would you evaluate that?
Yeah, good question, Linda. I think it would be dependent upon the size of the deal, right? So if it was kind of under 300 lots or so, we'd probably prefer to just keep it clean and just take everybody out and move forward. But if it was a situation where, because when we get into larger deals where we're 400, 500, 600 lots plus, we would really prefer to stage the acquisition from the ultimate land seller and landowner, so that we're not driving up our interest expense and our carry costs. Meaning, so for example, we're doing a deal right now in South Carolina where it's 620 lots, and the raw dirt price is 12 million, and we're paying them 4 million at closing, and then 8 million 12 months later. And we phased it that way for a reason, so that we can get the development going, get some lot sales going, and then that other 8 million hits later in time. We also talked to them about tax planning and how to separate that capital into different, calendar years for tax planning purposes. But we would be open to that, Linda. And I can't think of, red flags. Gosh, no. There's so many provisions that one could have in a contract. And if there were red flags, we would just, say, hey, look, guys, we're going to come in and we're going to set up a new contract and buy you guys out for this, and set up new deal parameters, frankly.
Okay, but you would consider that kind of situation where there's yet another party involved?
Yeah. This is still real estate. Creative finance is critical.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great question. Aaron, I saw you raise your hand, and then Jeremy, you're next.
Hey Shane, thanks so much for taking the time. This was really an awesome meeting so far. I'm newer to the space. I'm 25. I've been in real estate for about 4.5 years now. I've been in land for about 1.5 years, 2 years now, and things are growing, and I'm working on my first entitlements. My main markets have been southeast, more so South Carolina, and now we're adding Georgia. And I was curious because they mentioned that you were pretty much everywhere. I was wondering if you do deals in those areas.
Absolutely. Yeah, we got deals in Atlanta and deals from the high country to the low country in South Carolina.
Sweet. there's an area in Aiken County where I was, because I'm still newer to the entitlement side, uh, still have, at the time, hadn't found the niche that was going to be my path until I found Alex and Brandon, who have been helping me. So at the time, I found this 150 acres in the heart of Aiken with uh, transmission lines and substations next to it, and I was like, oh my God, data center, and I ran down that rabbit hole, and it wasn't for me. Um, but I ended up meeting the person who owns the land, and he owns like 3,000 acres in the heart of this area in Aiken, in a really prime area where there's a lot of development. He's a developer himself, and he is, I think, from what he said, he's around 80, and he's starting to step down a little bit. He has a 750 home subdivision that already has, he claims has gotten approved for single family homes. That's literally 2 minutes from DR Horton. I'm curious if that's something you'd want to take a look at.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll take all 3,000 acres off his hand at all at the same time. Absolutely.
Wait, nice to meet
Hey,
you.
Sh- Shane, real quick, I had a question about, have you done any mud finance, like mud or TIFs?
Yes. HUDs, PIDs, TIFs, CDBs, we speak all those public finance bond situations, and they're extremely important. Texas and Florida, no, Texas for sure. You can't do a deal without doing a MUD or a PID. And a lot of deals in Florida, CDB bonds are again critical to allowing it to happen. I know that the Huntsville market that has some programs that are similar to that. I believe Tennessee does as well. So yeah, those are super important, and we're very, very familiar with them. We have lawyers in each specific location that really handle that for us.
Okay.
Yeah, but those are critical, and we love them.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Jeremy, you had a question?
Yeah, Shane, like Aaron, I appreciate you taking the time. It's really helpful. I have a little bit of a similar background. I still have, still doing some wholesaling and flipping, and then small multifamily and land. So one of my challenges is that in the past, I've been in real estate now for, I guess, since 2016. So I've got about just under 10 years, and I've done a lot of different things. And one of my personal struggles is that if I find something else where I can make money, I kind of get distracted, or I spread myself too thin. Classic, right? So I'm trying to pivot from single family flipping all the stuff to utilizing some of my deal finding abilities. That's just my strength, and being able to put my focus to land entitlement. My question to you is there a place for someone who, like me, I don't really want to get into the actual horizontal development? I want to specialize, and that's a struggle for me to go from doing many things to focusing on one area, but I really feel like that's the direction I'd like to go. Is there a place in the market for someone who can do entitlements really, really well without the actual development?
Absolutely. There's entire businesses that are built around this that do 10,000 lots a year. There's a company in Charlotte called BRD Land. Check them out. They're a professional organization that exclusively focuses on land entitlements. Yeah. So
And
yeah, like
okay.
you're just land entitlement guys who go around and entitle dirt, flip it, make millions of dollars, and go home happy every night.
And then so again, I'm just asking more your personal opinion. I know Alex and Brandon, we've had discussions about this, but it's just always good to hear from people who have done different things and have a lot more experience. So my follow up to that would be, so shoot, as I just forgot what it was. As far as taking it to the next level. I know a lot of times someone gets into, let's say, single family, and then they're like, "Oh, I got to do multifamily, or I have to do this small thing to do the big thing." Um, are there a lot of advantages to taking on that that next piece, right? So maybe a starter for some people might be, hey, yeah, I just want to do land entitlements, and then eventually I want to develop. So I'm just wondering, like, for me, as of right now, I don't think that I want to do that, but I don't know where I'm going to be in 5 years. Are there significant advantages to going from entitlement to, hey, we want to do the horizontal, aside from more money and some other things? Are there other things that would be advantageous to saying, hey, I need to move from just land entitlement to the actual horizontal? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. That's a tough one for me to answer, really, because it really depends on each individual. You know, my background is in development, in construction, so I owned iron. I know iron inside and out, and that's why I'm very comfortable in this space. So if you know dirt work and you know how to do that and you're comfortable with that, then I would say that would be a fantastic thing to go to next, because there's just not enough of us out there doing this at scale.
Yeah.
So there's tons of room for it. But you know, that's for each individual. I think you know there's a lot of risk too. Everybody, everybody, there's lots of reward, but there's lots of risk, and so you just gotta gauge your risk and reward profile, and understand when things go wrong. You know how you're positioned to handle that all. Hey, Brandon, I gotta run. I'm supposed to be on at 1 o'clock. But I really appreciate coming on with you guys, and it's been fantastic to share, and I really appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you, Mr.
Yeah, no, thanks
Thank
for
you.
hanging on. Enjoy your day. We appreciate it.
Boom.
All right. Went a little long there, but a lot of great information. You know, he's been doing it a long time. You know, I'm trying to get some stuff in my market where we're hopefully doing some deals with Shane. He's a good dude. He's very knowledgeable. So I'll put his contact information in the school community so that you guys got it. All right. We got a little bit of time here. As always, want to make sure that we answer any questions you guys got, remove any obstacles. Throw them out there. What you guys got?
Well, I just have one quick question before you jump into that. Do you know where in California he's doing deals?
I don't think he's doing any deals in California. I think he's just focused on the southeast. But
He said California. He
I
said
thought he
he
said
said
he was
California. Oh, okay. Well, I don't know, but I'll put his email information in the group
Yeah.
chat. Cool.
And you can check out too. I'm looking at Terra Nova Land Dev. That's his website. So as he was talking, I was just kind of taking a peek at what they have. I don't see anything. Well, actually, tell you what, they do have their projects on there. I'm only looking at the. I don't see anything in California, but you can see where they're at. It looks like they're in several states, as he mentioned. So,
Oh, okay.
but you could probably navigate around there too. I booked that mark so I bookmarked that so I can return back to it later on.
Did you send the website in the chat?
Yeah.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Yeah, I'll put all their information. That way you guys got it. Yeah, it's exciting where the space is going. You know, like I said, I've said this a million times, I don't know, but like right now things are on hard mode. I think things are about to open up significantly. The ISM, if you don't know what the ISM is, the International Standard International Survey for Manufacturers, it's basically what every hedge fund and professional investor uses to see where we're at in the economic cycles. They do a survey of like all the manufacturers in the, I don't know if it's the world or the United States. Manufacturing leads the economy, so manufacturers kind of at the forefront of everything. So it's really interesting what they do. They survey them and say, hey, how much production do you think you're going to output over the next 3 months? And it gauges how much they think they're going to produce. And the people that produce everything, manufacture everything, they lead the business cycle. It's a good indicator of where things are headed. And like we've been kind of bottomed out for a little bit and we're trending up. Like it's like we've been bottomed out over the last 2 years since 2022 and it's headed up. So we're in this state where like the business cycle is turning and it's picking up in a positive direction at the same time where you've got these anticipated rate cuts coming from the Fed. I think that 2026 is going to be a great time to be doing this stuff.
Brandon,
Anyway,
I spoke to somebody. They were saying also that they think that they're going to cut the rates. Do you think that's going to happen pretty soon?
I don't have a crystal ball, but I think it's the 17th, I believe, is when the meeting is. 16th, 17th, I want to say. And there's a really good tool. I will post it in here. It shows you what the market is anticipating for interest rates. So I'll do a little video and I'll share it. It's really, really cool. It tells what the interest rates are. Let me see if I can find it real quick. If somebody
Like,
wants to ask a question, but it's a really, really cool tool.
do you think for somebody like myself, 25 years old, recently married, have not found a house yet, do you think that is going to be significantly, assuming that they really do cut the rates, significantly helpful for us, and then B, do you think that will affect the land flipping market as well? Obviously, I know you're in land entitlements, but I'm sort of a hybrid, so.
Yeah, I mean, anytime that you have a really simple framework that's helped me visualize these economic cycles is liquidity. So there's a finite amount of money that is literally circulating in the economy, and most of it circulates as debt because people are getting mortgages and credit cards. So if you think about it like that, it's just numbers moving around between people's bank accounts. There's actually not that amount of cash. If everybody tries to go pull out the cash that's in their bank account right now, we're going to be vastly short because we work off the fractional reserve banking system. So if you think of the economy as, okay, there's a finite amount of liquidity that's actually flowing around the economy, and you look at the levers that influence that liquidity, that tells you where things are going to go. When people have tons of money, like the pre-2022 times, dude, everyone's spending money and paying. It's easy to get access to financing, easy to get access to money. The economy's good, business is good. People have discretionary spending. That's why things like travel and Airbnbs tend to do really well, because that's discretionary spending. Then when things contract, those discretionary spending tends to go away. And so with interest rates, that's a huge lever. If you make it cheaper to borrow money, more people are going to borrow money, right? And so you get that pump of liquidity that comes into the economy, and that's going to make more people buy houses. More people buy houses, builders buy more. What happens when builders buy more? Business is really good for us. So that's the trickle effect. It's thinking about it as liquidity into the system, and interest rates are one of the biggest levers that cause that. And I could probably speak for an hour and just go into the macro stuff about liquidity, but I'll keep it at interest rates for right now. That's a huge lever that the Fed could pull. As far as buying a house goes, I think that people have this all wrong. They look at their personal residence as a investment. I don't think it should be. Buy a house because you need a house.
No, I definitely don't. But yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
I 100% don't. I can't have my wife live. I can't force my wife to live with my parents for that long.
Yeah. Oh no, you're saving your money. You're setting yourself up. Getting out of debt. But yeah, buy a house because you just want to buy a house and you want somewhere to live. Like, I wouldn't look at it as an investment. It's going to go up over time. And the great thing is, if interest rates continue to go down, just refinance in a couple of years. Right? That's it. Just refinance a little. If they go up, well, look at you. You've locked in a 30-year note at whatever rate it is. Pat yourself on the back.
Thanks for that.
Yep. All right. People hopping off here. Any other questions? Any other issues people are having? How can we remove the obstacles to
We're
your
finding
success?
any deals, talking to people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so interesting.
We had a disappointing.
What?
Go ahead, Linda.
I was going to say, I've had 5 sellers come back to me in the last couple of weeks because their deals fell through. They ended up selling their land to somebody else, and then they fell through. So one of them I'm looking at, it would be a total of 8 acres. I'm buying the neighbor's property, so I've contacted them. So I had a good conversation with the city planner. She was very helpful, and they've got a process where you do an initial drawing. So I'm going to use the guide that you guys suggested on Upwork to do the initial concept plan, and you submit that, and then they have their free every Friday review where they'll give you some initial feedback. So I'm going to do that hopefully next week, and so that's very helpful. And it's got sewer and water. It's on paved road, busy road, outside of Winston-Salem.
That's
So
great.
it's a good area. So I'm pushing that. So I'm really pushing to get the neighbor. The one sister-in-law is not 100% there, but it looks promising. And then there's a couple other lots in Texas that are looking good. But everybody's just slow to make up their mind and get back to you. And it seems like a lot of these land sellers are getting a lot of mail and a lot of offers or a lot of contacts. I think the fact that I talk to them helps, that I'm an actual person versus a mailing house that they get bombed with. So, but it's interesting that the deals that they're doing seem to be falling apart. And it seems to be around the buyer's financing, which is interesting. So, anyway.
Just a lot of wholesalers putting stuff under contract. That's what's happening.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't know what they're doing, and they're just putting it under contract and just trying to sell it, because that's the wholesaler model, like.
So,
Christy, what were you saying, Christy? You were saying something?
I was just gonna bring up the one I put in school.
What did
I
they
responded
say?
to you. I don't know if this lady is telling us a lie or if she's serious when the judge has something up that he wants the land. I don't know. But they said 1.7 to 2 million. It is still in Rutherford County. They would still have to get it rezoned. So I don't really understand. It's only 14 acres.
That's not happening.
There's something. It's not happening, and that's where we are. Is that
I think you should just tell them they should go ahead and do that.
we did.
Good
I mean,
luck.
at this point, we've walked away, but like it was
and
very
then what
frustrating.
you do is when it comes on the market, we'll go ahead and make an offer at 50% of the value. Then we'll have you make an offer at 60% of the value, and then they now legally have to present it to the judge,
Okay.
and the judge can say, "Okay, sell it." So
Yeah, because if they came back and said 500,000, Michelle and I were like, we'll take it.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like, what was the offer on it?
We did 1.3.
Yeah, I mean, I let them come put it on the market, and then we'll just make an offer at 50% of the. Because no one's gonna buy that land for. It's just not gonna be able to be appraised. Like, just not.
And that's what I was trying to figure out, where they got that. The judge got that appraisal.
They didn't.
Too, because
Judge didn't.
Right. He was making it up. I was so confused. I was like, this is dumb. The lady said she was going to send us all the information from the judge. I said, okay, great.
Please do. They're not gonna send you anything.
Yeah.
Just
So anyway,
wait for it to get on the market.
It was feeling very positive because her lawyer accepted our LOI, and then they went to the judge, and he was like, "No, we need something concrete." There's a lot of family drama going on with it too, so that's about all I know.
Yeah, this is where you just stay in touch.
Yeah,
right.
that's how we got here, because we had walked away from her already once, and she came back. Anyway.
Yeah, the money's made in the follow-up, and this is a tricky one because the judge is wanting an as-is offer. You might end up getting a home run on this deal, because if it goes to market and they're not able to get these crazy prices, then they're going to have to sell it at its as-is value, which is nowhere near what you're offering. And if you're the one that's done the work already, and you can go to, if you can go to somebody and say, hey, look, I got a verbal from the city that they'll approve this. I got an offer from a builder for this amount. Hey, Mr. Investor, I want to buy this land at this price. I need this much money. If this fails, we can turn around and sell this land for the same price you bought it for.
Right.
And it's huge because you don't have any, your downside's hardly nothing, right? Just value it as is, and your upside is enormous.
The thing is, and if it's actually a judge involved, they have to present the deal to the judge.
They have to present the deal to the judge, that's right.
Okay.
So,
all right, I'll keep you updated. That was...
It may be actually a silver lining in this whole thing.
I I know, might get it cheaper than we thought. Yeah.
But this is an inherited, like, this is an estate, right? So
Yeah.
so
So there's two people on the estate. That's the
so
issue.
s- super weird because this happens all the time, and usually it's presented to the judge. And I'm telling you, I've seen this happen 20 times. The judge, it's just they need to just have it be reasonable. Then the judge will accept it. Even a super low offer. Typically, judges don't care. They're just like, all right, we got to settle the estate. So the
Yeah.
fact that they're pushing off a really good, reasonable offer, that doesn't make any sense to me. This really doesn't. So I'm very
Well,
surprised.
It's because they're putting it under contract contingent on the rezone to higher density. That's
Correct.
why.
Yeah.
The
Still, it's
judge
crazy.
doesn't want
Yeah,
to
I
deal with
see.
that. Yeah, he doesn't
Yeah.
want to tie it up.
Yeah.
He just wants to liquidate it. But this, I mean, it could be a good thing. It could be a good
Yeah.
thing where you value it. Okay, judge, I'll give you 20,000 an acre. Okay, yeah, you want that 20,000 an acre it is, and give them that offer, and then you're just going to go to an investor and say, hey, we have this opportunity. There's no downside. We're buying it at retail prices,
Yeah.
and you show them what you've done so far, and say, let's buy it. I'll take it through. We'll need this much money to do it, and I mean, I love those deals because it's asymmetrical returns. There's no downside because you're buying it for the current value, but there's a huge upside if you pull off the entitlement.
Right.
Brandon, I
Yeah.
think it's. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say I think it's good for the I think it's good for the estate, but the judge doesn't care because it's not good for the court because it keeps the file open, and so he's got to
Yeah.
come back
That's
and deal with it.
exactly that's his reasoning is that it could take up to 2 years for us to give them all of the money.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
You were essentially wants us to do a payday loan for this whole thing. Like, you got paid.
Exactly.
All right, about to get smacked. So, Mr. Vaughn, Mr. Flip Daddy, what's up? You're out there being super quiet. I don't know what William Vaughn is doing. I think he's just on the call.
I don't think his microphone works.
Yeah, he's having some problems
It's all good.
talking.
But that guy's got a lot of knowledge. So if you guys can pick his brain.
We've met with him a few times, but I will ask him. I will
Right.
reach out to him about this deal because he might be
Yeah.
able to help us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he said his mic doesn't work. Right, y'all got anything else before we end the call? Let y'all go about your day.
No, because this is helpful.
Oh, I can't.
For other people, the guest speakers.
Y'all ask, we're here to deliver. I'm excited because next week it's a private equity company. So Shane said it's very rare that you find. Well, I found one, and they invest in entitlements. They invest in development. They just want to be the capital though, so they're more picky about who they work with. So Shane is like the guy. He's doing it. It's his company. He's partnerships and looking for deals. This company just wants to be the capital source. So they want to work with more more experienced people, but it'll be fun bringing them to see how they value deals, how they structure the capital, how they structure the deals or something like that. So they're going to be a great resource for that. So I'm excited for that call. So we will bring that in. I'm going to post the interest rate chart in the group so everybody can see that. I thought that was really cool because, yes, everybody should be tracking interest rates and kind of where they think it's going because that definitely affects this business.
Hey, these calls are really helpful, by the way, bringing these other people in. And again, it's not like we don't value you and Alex, obviously, right? We do, but it's kind of like now you guys are like our dad, right? So it's like when dad tells you got to do something on the basketball court, you don't want to hear it. But when the coach or the new guy says, "Hey, do this or do that," so I'm not saying it's like that, but it's kind of like, hey, there's this new person that's sharing a different perspective or whatever set of skills or whatever, just adding on to what you guys have been putting together and sharing different nuggets. It's really helpful to hear that different voice too. So I really appreciate it. I know some of the others have expressed that too. So thanks for doing it. It's really good.
Good. Yeah, well, that's where we're here, man. Like, we want y'all to do deals and make money and not the biggest thing is like we've had some pretty heavy hits because we didn't have a group like this. There was no